The following is a member of the Burke Reviews podcast family. BurkeReviews.com.
What you want?
Top 5 movies. Top 5. Top 5 movies. Top 5 movies. Top 5 movies. Come on. Top 5 movies.
Hey everybody, welcome to Burke Reviews Top 5 Movies. I'm Jonathan Burke, and with me this week is Michael Sanchez.
Hello.
And Corey Starr.
Hello.
And this is an exciting episode, I think, for all of us, but definitely for me, as we are doing our top 5 movie bands. These are bands that exist only in fiction. That's not to say they don't have maybe roots in music or something like that, but these are officially bands that were made for a movie, and that's where they lived and sometimes died and sometimes, other things. But it's something that I have a music background, as I think I've mentioned before. I know Corey's super into music, and I mean, Mike's into music too, of course, because it's how are you not into music, right? Music is almost as great as movies. It's just a little short, but when you mix them together, you get something awesome.
Can't have one without the other.
Oh,
but
yes.
You can.
Well,
you can have music without movies.
True.
Yeah,
And you can have movies without music. I feel like that would be a little less enjoyable.
It often
you
is.
just destroyed your saying. You said it and immediately
I ruined it myself. That's okay. That's what I do here.
You, in essence, blocked yourself.
Yes. New John Cena movie.
Boom.
So, how are you guys doing this week?
Good. I'm counting down again. I feel like this is a theme in the fall, because what do we got? 3 and... Well, not 3 fall, right?
No,
However many
we
is
have
left.
14 actual days of work, not counting our weekends.
That's not many.
Nope, and I have an early
It's
release
not
this
many.
week, too, so...
No, we don't have that. We don't have any again for the rest of the year. So.
Yeah, we were under the impression that we were canceling ours, but it turned out we are not, so we have one on Wednesday.
Ooh, you just announced it. I wonder if people are going to be on your school for that. Never mind.
No, we have our own systems. So, we are gonna basically be jumping in. Unless, do you guys have any movies you've seen recently you want to mention? Or
Yeah, I gotta mention this one because, not because it's new. It's from '93, but I wish there were a way to, because I know the Roku devices you can control them from the tablets, you can control them from the phone, and I think you could even listen to it through the app. But you can't get the image. So I was looking, because what I had stumbled onto was a Scott Wolf. He plays one of the leads, and I want to say I've seen Maureen Flanagan in something else, but she gets top billing over him, at least according to IMDb. And this is what it was called: Teenage Bonnie and Klepto Clyde. And I wondered what I was watching, and he plays Clyde Barrow, and Maureen Flanagan plays Bonnie. Oh, Bonnie. It just says Bonnie. Bonnie Parker. Thank you. And I couldn't stop looking. It was something, and I wish I could have just finished it, because we know what ultimately is going to happen to those characters, unless you don't know your Bonnie and Clyde history, but. Man, I just couldn't look away, and I wish I'd had the technology. I just didn't want to sit out there watching it. I was somewhat involved, but not fully involved enough to sit out there and watch it till the rest of the end. So I don't know if that's a glowing review or not.
I don't know. It's interesting. I didn't know this movie existed. It says it's a Bonnie and Clyde story told from a contemporary setting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
What?
Yeah, I know, right?
John Shepard, maybe, or Shep-Heard.
Yeah, it's
I don't know. I can't make it out. It's one of those weird spellings, and yeah, it's only gotten 2 critics review. I don't even want to. I'll have to look at the reviews. It's just, the Roku channel is the B movie channel, I think. So this really fits everything. Everything I've ever seen on that. During the break, I hit more of the Roku channels that I don't always get to watch. And I can't even remember the other one. It had to do with aliens, and it was a mess.
I will say, this director, John Shepard, or however we're supposed to say it, his best known for features Chupacabra Terror from 2005, which screams B-movie all over it. So,
oh, I saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. That sounds. I wonder if that was a Lifetime Movie Network.
probably. It looks like it.
It looks. Yeah, it does. The Santa Trap. Never heard of that one.
Nope. I don't know. It doesn't say if it's a. Does it? I feel like it would say somewhere it was like a Lifetime movie or something, but
He hasn't done much for the last since Jersey Shore Shark Attack.
I know, right? Jersey Shore Shark Attack. TV movie from 2012.
Wonder if that's an asylum. Nah. I just can't dig deeper. We're opening portals.
We are entering a world of nonsense, and we need to move away from it.
Well, I have to include someone else because now it legitimizes it and makes it more real.
Okay.
And surely someone else
there you
will
go.
maybe
It wasn't a
watch
fever
it.
dream or something like that.
Right.
All right. Well, hey.
My turn.
Okay, go for it.
Sorry. I went to see yesterday Coco.
Oh, great. I didn't know that.
I loved it, and Bill loved it, and he was the one that was kind of dragging his feet.
I told
and he
you.
loved it. And here's the thing. I think that I understand that they don't want to give the story away in the trailers, but they make it not, you know what I mean? They make it not seem as, like, complex and I don't even know how to explain it.
They don't even explain what Coco is in the trailer. Like, there's no frame of reference, and it's not like that's a reveal at the end. If anything, it is kind of a spoiler, but it's not in the way they deliver it either. But I loved Coco. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Pixar movie, but it's in. I'd have to do some really thinking, but it's probably in my top 5. Maybe for sure, it's in my top 10 of Pixar.
It was so good.
Yeah, I loved it.
And you said that you teared up. I was a few tears away from sobbing. And then, although, can we talk about this? I don't understand why there was that 21
minute trailer.
Frozen!
It was a Christmas special forced in front of Coco.
I don't care. I'd rather see a Pixar short.
Yes, and that's been the consensus from everybody. So they're making Frozen 2, and apparently this was them trying to remind people what they loved about Frozen, and all they did was annoy the crap out of me. They crammed so many songs into that 21-minute short.
And then I finally watched Frozen.
Oh.
And I really can't stand the singing voice of Elsa. There, I said it.
Wow.
Sorry. Is it Idina?
We'd have to ask John Travolta.
Idina Menzel.
Thank you.
I don't know.
No, that's not it.
I didn't think it was it.
It was close. There's an I, D, and E.
Idina Menzel, I believe.
I think that's it.
Okay. That sounds legit.
Who? Where?
Yeah.
What?
Travolta butchered her name at the Oscars that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Copious amounts of cocaine.
But yeah, I liked Frozen the first time I saw it. I don't think I've watched it a second time. It did get annoying just from it being ever present.
I felt like it was even more chock full of songs than Disney movies usually are.
Yeah, it's more of a musical.
Taylor resist it because our kids didn't for a little bit, but then we did.
We went and I remember the night we saw it very vividly because I had DJ'd our friend Ryan's wedding, and my wife had to work the day, so she wasn't at the wedding with me, and I was leaving the wedding, and they were just about to go to the movies, and I was like, well, I don't know if I'll make it, but if I can get there in time, I'll join you guys, and I did. So we went and saw Frozen on the same night Ryan got married, and I enjoyed it. I was not in the mood to see it because I'd been, at a wedding for hours, like the whole day basically I was there, so I was ready to go to sleep, not see an animated film about a snowman fight or whatever. And I enjoyed it enough. She did like it, and we did buy it when it came out, but I don't remember her ever watching it again. I think she was just like, wow. Yeah, no, it's fine. Unlike La La Land, which she watched multiple times, and Yeah.
But she's older then at that point.
True. Yeah, but I mean, she has. Okay, a great example was last night. She had a friend over and the friend's little brother, and my wife put on a random Christmas movie from Netflix, as she'll do, and it was awful, very, very awful. I don't even know the name of it, but it essentially wanted to be a Christmas story. Like, it used the voiceover, like styling of Christmas Story. The music that plays in A Christmas Story when he turns in his theme and he imagines the teacher like raving about it. It has that music when there's a girl that moves in across the street and he sees her for the first time. That exact music plays. I mean, there's a bully who's very much set up where like he gets mad and fights the bully the same way as A Christmas Story, not from a snowball, but similar setup. I mean, it's left and right. There's so many like parallels to Christmas Story, but then with really bad dialogue, and it felt like they opened a book of cliches and then just added them, like copied and pasted them into their script. Like, it was so bad. And I'm watching. My wife's fine with the movie. My daughter's friend is okay with it. Her little brother was enjoying it, and my daughter and I are both like cringing and like squirming in our seats, just like, oh my god, why are we watching this? Why is this on? And it made me proud and also worry because I'm bad about keeping my opinions quiet, especially if I don't like something, especially when I know there's like a million better things we could be watching. And I was trying really hard not to ruin it for the little kid. Oh man, but it was tough. But
maybe sometimes we have to watch really bad movies so we can appreciate the really good ones.
I always hear that, but there's still like better bad movies.
I know.
There are better bad movies out there than what I watched.
I feel
on
like
Netflix.
you should just appreciate her for what she is. She's fearless.
Well, no,
She just,
she appreciates the Christmas everything, and I mean the premise of most Christmas films is enough to warrant warm feelings, I suppose. Like, no matter how bad they always are going to have like the warm and fuzzy ending because it's a Christmas movie. Most do, at least. I mean, there's a few out there that I like. We collectively don't like Deck the Halls with Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito. Can't stand that movie. And I think that's one she agrees with me. Like, she won't sit through it, kind of thing. And Christmas with the Cranks is just awful. That said,
so far, I think my judgment has gone pretty well. I don't think I've seen any of those except for Frozen.
Yeah, well, Frozen's not a bad movie. I think Frozen suffered from the New Kids on the Block syndrome, which was overabundance. It was everywhere. Like, I don't know if
everyone was also that year.
In the 80s, I remember my cousins being obsessed with New Kids on the Block, and they had everything. They had the action figures or the dolls or whatever that you want to call them.
They were Barbies.
They were like Barbies, exactly. They had like the FM transmitting microphone so you could sing with New Kids on the Block through your stereo. I guess. I don't know why you would do that, but just like they had everything, and that's New Kids on the Block oversaturated the market.
Why wouldn't you do that?
If you can make the money. I had Jordan and Joey dolls.
Yeah. And
Confession time.
So Frozen did that same thing where it was anything they could merchandise, it was there. And I think it was too much too soon. Like, people got burnt out on it because everywhere you turned, it was Frozen. Like, because you could say that Star Wars over merchandises, but Star Wars built up to the over merchandising, right? Like, at this point, Star Wars fans are like Star Wars fans. There's not much you can do. No matter how bad Jar Jar Binks was, we stuck around. You know what I'm saying? Like, we came back when Force Awakens came out. And no matter how much merchandising you do, because I think right now you can buy Star Wars themed vegetables in your local produce department. Like, it's just regular vegetables, but they slap Star Wars characters on the bags. You know, unnecessary, but whatever. But Frozen, I think it was just too much too soon. People got burnt out on it, and it did last still a long time, mind you. Like, I would say a good 2 years in the zeitgeist where it was the most popular thing. But I think at this point, the kids that loved it are too old to still love it. So Frozen 2 is probably going to flop unless a younger generation gets reminded of Frozen and enjoy it again. But I don't know. We've gone too deep into the Frozen hole. But, Corey, so you like Coco. That's good.
Loved it.
And you did not go see 3 Billboards today?
No, I told you I needed to be home today.
I know, and I told you got to make a sacrifice for the movies. But I wanted to go see a few things, and none of that worked out. And I'm very disappointed in my wife and daughter because I desperately wanted to take them to see Lady Bird, and they just it seemed like they were opposed. They never said no. It just seemed like they kept doing things to prevent it from happening, and it disappointed me. Because I went out of my way yesterday to make sure there would be no room for excuses, and they still found excuses. Nonetheless, I didn't get to see that again. I did see Bad Moms Christmas, which was fun. Not great. There's some definitely like really cheesy expositional moments that do not need to be in the movie, but the comedy was funny. If you like the first one, the second one's gonna satisfy the itch, and it's got a Christmas message, I guess. So there you go. It was a good time. My wife and I went and saw it, so that was just fine. All right, so we're gonna talk movie bands. This is a list I've been thinking about for a while now, and I'm really excited to get to talk about these, not just the movies that the bands are in, but also some of the songs from these bands, because a lot of these are in my heavy rotation. Not all of them, but some of them are in my heavy rotation for what I listen to when I'm not listening to other podcasts. So I'm excited to breach this topic. I didn't think about this, but I didn't look to see who was supposed to go first this week. Is it by chance me? Because I think it might be. But we approach this list a little more stringent than a lot of our other ones. So I think we might need to lay some of the rules down. If you've never listened to this podcast before, what we do is we come up with a topic and we make our list in secret from one another. And the episode is us discussing our top 5 of whatever the category is. And that's what you get to listen to. So, that's going to be a problem. Yeah, it is me. It's John, Corey, Mike this week. So I'll be going first, which is exciting. So here's the basic gist of the rules. When we said movie bands, I don't know if Mike got all of these or not. It's okay if not, Mike. But there was a very long group chat, I think last Sunday night or Monday, where I was asking Corey a bunch of questions, but it was really late, so I don't know if you went back and read them all or not. But if to me, when I hear the word band, I think instruments. So I kept my list to like people playing instruments in a band. So I also took the word band to mean not a solo artist. So it had to have at least 2 people. And the big thing was it had to be a fictional band. So it could not be a band that existed outside of the movie first and then came into the movie. Now, it could be famous musicians who came into the movie as a different band. And I have examples, but I don't want to give away anyone's topic, so I will let that go. But
I wonder why Corey gasped.
No, I'm sorry. I'm yawning.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's
So
like
boring.
been. No, I think I need you guys to know this, that I live very northwest. Okay, not in the cool parts of the northwest, like Washington, but it's gray here all day. And today we got no sunshine. And on a good day during the winter, the sun comes out at like 10, and then it starts setting at like 4.
Nice.
I might as well live in Alaska, except that I'm tired all day. So I'm sorry.
understood. That is tough.
It's a hard life.
But so we're going to be talking about our favorite movie bands tonight, and I'm excited because this is a subject that I am super passionate about. Some of my favorite movies feature music at the heart of the story. I've left some off. I've got a lot of honorable mentions on this list, but we are going to go from 5 to 1. And before we do that, Corey?
Okay, guys, if you want to go to burkreviews.com and check out our list ahead of time, please do so. Otherwise, full steam ahead. We might ruin something about these movies for you. Spoilers.
Spoiler warning. And Mike has a tendency. We have a listener. Shout out to Aaron, who has been one of our. I think he's by far our longest consistent listener. Although we did lose him for a little while when we switched hosts and I screwed things up. But we got him back, and he was talking to me the other day on a message, and he gave some suggestions, and I liked all of them. And one of the things he noted we've fallen into archetypes, the three of us. I don't know. He didn't use this terminology necessarily, but I found it interesting.
Which am I?
Well, you are the everyman. You are the more, you have a more common movie knowledge, as in like you watch the bigger movies that more people are going to know the movies that you're talking about. Where I tend to be kind of along the movie like elitist kind of category. Those aren't his words either, but just that I know the movies and then I go like one step higher to like the searching through the movie like list and seeking things out. And I'm dragging you along with me too. Obviously, that's what movie club's all about, is that we're both dragging each other through all these crazy movies that we're trying to explore. And then Mike is the eclectic one who has, the movies that most people have never heard of. And that's why this game that we've been playing, which we still, I think next year it'll be a goal to actually make this matter. But Corey and I like to wager how many of Mike's movies we have seen, and then, brag about it for the rest of the time. So, because the subject is music, and I feel fairly confident, I'm going to go big. I'm going to go 4 of Mike's 5. What you got, Corey?
I'm still going with 2. I feel like next year, whoever wins the most should get to maybe do like the summer movie wager thing we did. But then, how's that fair to Mike?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, Mike would get to pick the movie that the loser would watch.
Oh.
So, like, the person who gets the most wins or whatever, because we don't always win. That's the other catch. Sometimes we both lose. So, but Mike would get to pick the movie for the loser to watch.
I feel that Corey should watch a 3-hour movie.
You're the worst.
Each one that she doesn't get.
You're the worst.
I think we should get Corey a 3-hour documentary on how they make steelbooks.
I'm walking away from this episode.
No,
Goodbye.
how they make steelbooks, so that way you know the process of the steelbooks that you
I don't
covet.
know how this has become such a thing for like a year now.
That she needs to watch every.
I feel like I'm being harassed.
Zoe Deschanel.
Oh, gross.
And Elizabeth Olsen
Gross.
film.
That's when I would resign from my unpaid position here at Burke Reviews. I'm sorry.
I heard that they're doing a movie together.
Are you kidding right now?
It's a biopic.
And they named it.
Jesus.
It's a biopic about the White Stripes, where Zoe Deschanel is going to play Jack, and Elizabeth Olsen's going to play Meg. No, I have no idea. I'm just making all that up. Anyways, speaking of music, let's get into our. Corey's gone 2. I went 4 of Mike's movies. It's going to go me, Corey, Mike this week. So let's start off. And we're going back to 1994, guys, in an era of music that I personally feel is my favorite time period of music, which is the grunge era. Although I don't know that this band is technically grunge. I think they might be kind of more fringe, like 80s metal that carried into 90s with a little bit of the grunge flair. And that is the Lone Rangers from the movie Airheads, starring Adam Sandler, Brendan Fraser, and Steve Buscemi. And I think the look that he was meant to always have but never kept. You guys know what I'm talking about with this? Like,
with the long hair.
The long hair. He looks actually like somewhat normal in Airheads, because he's got the eyes. His eyes are bulgy, and
buggy.
When he's
I'm glad he has eyes.
Yes, the eyes. Well, you know what I mean by eyes, but like he's got the mustache kind of beard look going on in this movie. He actually looks really cool. And it's directed by Michael Lehman. It is a 46 Metacritic, but I was a huge Adam Sandler fan in the 90s, as many people were. And Airheads just worked for me on so many levels. Oh, and Chris Farley's in this movie too, so you got to give him. He's a small part, but it has some great like little scenes in it. You also got Michael McKean, Judd Nelson. I always forget Judd Nelson. Yeah, wow, Judd Nelson's so weird in that movie. Ernie Hudson's fantastic in the movie. Trying to find the other guy. Oh, well, David Arquette's in it as basically a druggie, and it's funny. There, Joe Mantegna. Is that Tegna? I don't know how to say his name.
Joe Mantegna.
Is that how you say that? Is that who that is? Man, okay. I've heard that name a billion times. I didn't realize that's who that person was.
Mantegna.
Yeah. Oh, and he's on
Mantegna.
He's on Criminal
He's
Minds.
on Criminal Minds.
Yeah, I love
It's
him in this
correct.
movie. The Lone Rangers, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they tell him their name. He's like, you can't pluralize the Lone Rangers. Like, why not? It's like, well, there's 3 of you. You're not exactly lone. And it's a dumb movie, but the whole premise of the film is for any local band. They're a local band struggling, trying to get a record label, which now in today's world, signing to a record label is no longer the necessity it used to be, especially in the early 90s and even the mid 90s. So looking to get attention, they break into a radio station and demand, with water pistols that look like guns, demand that they play their demo. And then things go wrong, and we finally get to hear the song at the end, and it's Degenerated. And I love the song. It's a great song. I actually listened to it this morning on Google Play to make sure they were worthy of my list, because I love the band themselves. Like, I enjoy their presence. Brendan Fraser's really rocking like the 80s kind of look to him, and then Adam Sandler's the drummer. Steve Buscemi's character is his brother. Adam Sandler and Buscemi are brothers in this movie, and he's the bass player. You know, I just enjoy the name of the band, the look of the band. The one song we get to hear from them, and of course their journey, like their struggle, their plight. It's a band that has always stuck with me, and I cannot even 23 years later, holy cow, forget
Holy
them.
goodness.
So that's my number 5, the Lone Rangers from Airheads.
Well, you're probably going to be surprised at this, but I've gone 23 years without watching it.
I'm not as surprised.
I've never seen it either.
Really? Man, it's a movie that I think in my circles of bands, it was one that was kind of like a cult following within the rock community, because it really does, in my opinion, capture the plight of the little band. You know, these guys they're talented. They're kind of dumb, and they're getting kicked out of everything they're trying to do. You know, they're just desperately trying to get that label. And, you know, you got the sleazy record executives, and even the guy that plays Kramer is in this movie too. And his role
Michael
is...
Richards?
Yeah, he's got a funny kind of like side plot that is just... It's stupid, but it's funny. And then Harold Ramis shows up at one point.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's got a lot of little cameos. It's one you got to check out for sure, especially if you like rock music. Oh, that's right. Mike Judge has got a credit because Beavis and Butthead prank called the station at one point.
Oh.
So yeah, it's a really great kind of time capsule of 90s music, and I like it. So they're on my list.
I feel like I need to watch that. I really like
maybe one day.
I definitely think it's a must watch. They end up, I don't want to spoil anything, but they end up taking the station ransom. Like their things go wrong, and they end up taking everyone as hostages. And so they're like making these crazy. Their logic is they make crazy demands, like the kidnapping demands. Ernie Hudson's the police officer that they're negotiating with. So they make the most outrageous demands they can think of, so that if things go wrong and they end up getting arrested, that they can plead insanity, and their demands will prove that they were crazy. So like they ask for like a football helmet full of cottage cheese, naked pictures of B. Arthur. Like it's outrageous. Like it's crazy
B.
funny.
Arthur? That's
yeah,
very specific.
94, man. Golden Girls was relevant.
Golden Girls.
So yeah, I love that movie. I've owned it on VHS and DVD. I don't own it digital or Blu-ray yet, but I would add it to my Blu-ray collection for sure, because it's not a perfect movie, but I think if you like 90s rock music and you like any of those actors, and I still think Buscemi, not only is he great in this, I mean he's great in most things, but I think this is the look he was meant to have. Like he looks cool. Like he looks way cooler in this movie than in any other movie, in my opinion. So there you go. That
Fair enough.
leads us to Corey's number 5. I'm very curious to see your list, Corey.
No. Okay, I know. I feel like some of it is going to be very, you guys will just already know. But then I hope something like this might throw you off, because it's from 2000, the Soggy Bottom Boys. From Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I can't remember if I watched this movie. I can't even remember how I came about watching this movie. I'm pretty sure my grandmother loves the soundtrack. I know my Uncle Ed loves the soundtrack, and every once in a while he'll put it on at like family, dinners or something. And I feel like this type of music, I mean, because it's kind of bluegrass, I don't think a lot of people would expect to like it. But you know what I mean? I think that it, like, goes beyond its genre out to lots of different people. And it just fits so perfectly with the movie, which unfortunately I haven't seen in a while, but I just really love the music in this movie.
I agree completely. It did not make my list, but I do love both of the songs that we get to hear them sing. They sing mainly Man of Constant Sorrow, but they also sing In the Jailhouse Now in the part towards the end, and I love both songs. I love every instance that we get the Man of Constant Sorrow song. I have seen this movie a lot because I actually taught this alongside the Odyssey because the story is based around the book, The Odyssey. And then I taught it as a film because it's the Coens, and it's one of their more family-friendly films, which isn't entirely accurate, but it's much cleaner than a lot of their other stuff. So it's I think PG-13 compared to R. And so I've seen this. I can't even tell you how many times, but I've always enjoyed it. And I am not a fan of country music traditionally. And while this is not country, it's bluegrass, I think is what we would call it, right?
Yep.
I still wasn't aware of it, and it's such a fun song. And it is a real band though. If I'm not mistaken.
It's like, no, it is well-known musicians who came in to record the songs.
Ah, okay.
Right.
I can't remember which ones, but
yeah, and even. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I want to watch it again because I put it on the honorable mentions. It's just I do like it. It's not that I dislike it. I just didn't feel like it could be in my top 5. Just because I haven't watched it nearly as much as you have. And which is funny because I am a bluegrass fan, or at least the bits of bluegrass that I've heard. Alison Krauss, the Statler Brothers, a couple bands here and there. There's one that specializes in bluegrass covers of more contemporary stuff, and I cannot remember their name.
See, I would be interested.
Yeah, they're really good. I just can't. Their name escapes me, sadly.
Yeah, I love this movie though as a collective. I mean, it's not. The music is important to the plot, but it's not what the plot is set out to do. It just happens to end up being part of the plot. But I do love the song. I love the scene when they record the song for the first time, and you get to see George Clooney being the swarmy kind of con artist that we know him to be when he tricks the blind man into having more members of the band than there actually is, and things like that. Yeah, I really like that. Good pick, no question.
Thanks.
All right, Mikey, what do you got for number 5?
Well, I am going with the band that helped launch rock and roll with the help of a time-displaced teen.
I knew it.
Marvin, Berry, and the Starlighters from the Enchantment Under the Sea dance in 1985's Back to the Future.
I've seen this.
I mean, what? No. Without Marty's filling in for the injured guitar player, it all fits and works together so perfectly. If Marty hadn't been thrown in the trunk, and then they chase off Biff's gang, who isn't much of a gang because they run off, after seeing who they're up against. It's always easier when it's 3 or 4 of them against one lone time-displaced teenager, and then they run into Marvin Berry and his crew. And then Marvin slicing his hand open and all that. And then, going through Earth Angel. Like in my mind, I'm like, wow, and then he jumps into that roaring version of Johnny B. Good. Marvin would never have made that call to Chuck.
Yep.
Chuck Berry, his cousin. And, in my mind at that point, it was like, whoa, that's really, revisionist history, fictional history on top of that.
Yeah.
Remember that sound you're looking for? Well, listen to this. And he's holding the phone and, and he's even doing the Chuck Berry chicken. It's almost like Marvin totally does a play-by-play and Chuck totally takes this and invents rock and roll. So, I mean, I figure I should probably mention the Pinheads. But I always felt the Pinheads, his band in high school that he was trying to get into the Battle of the Bands, was just trying to cop on Huey and the Lewis tunes, ironically, because it is Huey Lewis that tells them they're too darn loud.
Too darn loud.
And too darn loud. And also, did that guy ever have any hair? Is the Prince? I mean, The way they did all these little things, but they're only there for a quick moment. But without that, without Earth Angel to get George and Mom together, Marty would have disappeared in front of their eyes. So it scores 96% fresh, 94% audience, 8.5 IMDb, 4.3 Letterboxd, and an 86 Metascore, as it should.
It definitely should. One of my favorite movies of all time. Partly why I left it off, because I've talked about this movie, I think, a few times already. But I don't blame you at all for having it on the list. I also, while I enjoy the songs, my favorite part is when Marty's playing, and so it's not their band that I love, although they are very talented because they picked that song up with no practice.
Yeah, he
no
tells
training.
them to watch for the key changes, and they pick up on those key changes.
They sure do. But I definitely, it's one of the most iconic scenes, and of course we get to see it again in Back to the Future 2. So we get to see them a second time.
So pivotal.
And I think Corey and I both have seen this movie, so one each.
Yes.
Yeah. Corey, do you have anything to add to the band?
Mm-mm. I feel like that's a fun puck.
A fun puck. It's a fun puck.
Yes. Words. Yeah.
Great.
Words and
I'm
things.
glad she didn't. I'm glad she didn't say it was a pun something. She could have put those consonants.
Been a bad word, but we don't do wordy dirts here.
I say that for movie club, and I don't even go wild there. So.
All right. Well, I guess. Excellent pick for sure. We'll move into mine, and I think we might have another movie. I guess maybe you guys should have bet how many of my movies you've seen, because
I'm gonna go with 3 for your movies.
Oh, okay. And Mike, what do you think? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, well, I got a low ball since y'all always low ball me. I'll go in 2.
Okay. Well, this movie's from 2008 and stars Rainn Wilson, Josh Gad, Teddy Geiger, and Emma Stone. And it's The Rocker from 2008. Yep. And more specifically, the band that I'm picking is A.D.D, which is the band that Teddy Geiger, Josh Gad, and Emma Stone are in. Their drummer gets grounded, and so they're not going to be able to play the prom. And they ask Josh Gad's, who plays the character Matt's uncle, Fish, who is Rainn Wilson, to fill in. Now, Fish was a disgraced drummer. He was in like an awesome 80s band, and they get signed to a label under one condition, that they replaced Fish with another drummer. And so he gets kicked out of what he built, and they become like the world's biggest band. There's kind of like a fictional Megadeth or Metallica. They're called Vesuvius, and they have lasted the test of time, and he's watched from a distance, never playing the drums again until his nephew calls upon him. Now, there's so many great comedic performances in this movie because Jane Lynch plays Rainn Wilson's sister, and Jeff Garlin plays her husband. Jason Sudeikis ends up being the record label executive. The guys in the band Vesuvius, we have Will Arnett, Fred Armisen, and
what?
I think Lonnie Ross, and then there's one more guy who I'm missing. I can't think of who the other one is. Like, doesn't look like any of those people. Is it Bradley Cooper? Is he the other one in there?
Jeez.
Bradley Cooper's billed here. I didn't remember him being in the band, but he must be because I don't see anyone else that could be. One of my favorite.
Play a small raccoon?
Yes. There's a moment Dimitri Martin plays a director of a music video, and I freaking love that scene so much. This movie's really underrated, I think, especially if you like rock music. Rainn Wilson is a dynamo in this movie. Like, he is chewing the scenery. He is living it up. He gets a really interesting story with Christina Applegate, plays Teddy Geiger's character's mother in the movie, and so there's an interesting dynamic there. Yeah, I love this movie. I really do. I saw it, I think I rented it before Blockbuster died, and was just kind of blown away because I didn't expect to like it at all, and I was laughing, and I liked the music in it. Teddy Geiger is a musician. He is a pop rock writer, and he wrote all the songs for the soundtrack under the guise of A.D.D, and they're super catchy. They're definitely poppy, but they're pop rock, This is where I was introduced to Josh Gad before he became freaking Olaf in Frozen, and he's kind of a similar squirmy, quiet, awkward character in this. But I liked him in this movie. I thought he fit, the dynamics of the group were very powerful. But one of my favorite scenes, and I think the scene that won me over for the music, is they record their demo, And Teddy Geiger's character he has daddy issues, which is a joke they kind of make throughout the film. And he has, as a result, he has a lot of confidence issues about his music. Like it's not good enough. And Rainn Wilson's like, well, we got to do the driving test. And he's like, what? He's like, if you can drive around and listen to your song and you have to sing along with it and you're having a good time, it's good. And so then there's just like a montage of them driving through the city and then singing their new song together. And it's anyone who loves music, you've had a moment like that in the car where there's a song that just takes you away and you're ripped into it and you can't not sing it. No matter how bad you sound or how dumb you look in the car, you are just going with it. At least I think so, because it connects to me in that way. And I don't think enough people saw this movie. Again, not for everybody. I think if you're okay with poppy rock music, which I am, if you like funny, if you like Emma Stone, Rainn Wilson, Jane Lynch, or Christina Applegate, or Jason Sudeikis, you're gonna find joy in this movie for sure. And again, if you like rock music, because it does, they're on the road, so you get like the tour movie, but you also get this interesting character of a guy who was right there at the threshold of his dream, had it taken away from him. 20 years later, gets another chance with a group of kids, mind you. So he's the odd man out. He's too old to be starting to tour, but he does. Aziz Ansari is in this film too as a very small part. He plays a co-worker with him before he gets into A.D.D. I mean, it's just little cameos from all these great comedians. It's got tons of humor and tons of heart and some really great music from A.D.D. So that's my pick.
Yeah, this is one I'm aware of and just didn't watch or haven't watched yet. So, but considering all the names you've named, I'm actually, I guess I just didn't realize.
That's what I'm saying. I rented this as on a whim. I don't even remember what made me finally pick it. I think I was just in the mood for something with music, and I had seen Airheads too many times, so I grabbed this one and then I bought it. I liked it so much I went and picked it up. So I've seen this multiple times, and it was on HBO or Showtime at some point, and it was anytime it was on, I was watching it because it's a movie I can just throw on at any moment in the film and be fine with going till the end. I watched it recently within the last. I don't think I made it to the end when I was watching because I think I had to leave or something. But it's again, you can just throw it on and enjoy the moments that you see. If it's comedy or even how they get noticed is really funny. But yeah, I'll leave that for if you haven't seen it to be a surprise. But Corey, you're a Rainn Wilson fan, and you have not seen this movie, right?
I am. I like a lot of people that you named until you got to Fred Armisen, and I hate him.
But he's only in Vesuvius, so he's only in 3 scenes in the whole movie.
Perfect.
I love how she's like, nope, can't do it just for one person.
It kind of bothers me thinking of Christina Applegate being a mother. I don't know why.
No, totally.
She's a person. She could have been a mother. Kelly Bundy could have been a mother back then.
Oh,
I know, but I just
actually that kind of would fit if that was Kelly Bundy, because she is. They do say she's too young to be his mother or something in the movie, but she's in Bad Moms. She's a major. She's the antagonist in Bad Moms. The first one. And
not in this one.
She has a cameo in Bad Moms Christmas, but she's the full antagonist in the first movie. She's like the perfect mom, that everything has to be spot on, head of the PTA.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, but
she's had a lot of practice. She started young. I'm kidding.
All right.
Good Lord.
Digs at a character she played on TV. All right, let's go to Corey's number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
I feel like we just talked about this one.
Did we?
Man,
I have
seems
the
very
worst
familiar.
memory.
I
just talked about this with a friend at work.
The name Hedwig always makes me think of Harry Potter, and it throws me off.
Oh. Now I feel bad. I feel like I should have looked at my last list. But anyways, I love Hedwig a lot. She is a transgender that had a botched sex change, and now she's started a band, but her band isn't as successful as it could be, and a former lover, played by Michael Pitt, as Kaminosis in the movie, steals her songs, and then he becomes very famous.
Oh, man.
With her stolen songs. But I just feel like I just think that she's the perfect rock star. I don't know. I love her big blonde feathered hair, and all of her aesthetics, and the music is fun too. And it's from 2001 movie. And the person that plays Hedwig, I think John Cameron Michael, John Cameron Mitchell plays Hedwig, but he also wrote the film, which actually started as a musical
play.
Yeah, a play, and then went to this movie, and now it's back to being a musical. I think that, oh God, why am I forgetting who played Dexter? Michael
C. Hall.
Yeah.
Yep, has played Hedwig, and Neil Patrick Harris most recently has played Hedwig.
Cool. I've heard the name of this movie / band multiple times. I knew nothing about it, and again, I think because Hedwig in my brain connects to Harry Potter, I've always associated it with the band from Goblet of Fire that plays at the party for the wizards. And so I've just always assumed that was it. And of course that makes no sense, because why would they name their band after Harry's owl in that movie? But nonetheless, in my head, every time I've ever heard anyone mention it, that's what I've assumed it was. And so I knew like nothing about this. I'm gonna have to seek this movie out. It sounds right up my alley.
Sadly, it's only available on DVD. I don't think they've never reissued it on Blu-ray, and the soundtrack is kind of hard to get a hold of too, but they did they released a little while later a cover of the songs from the movie by famous musicians, and I think it's called Wig in a Box. I just downloaded that probably within the last month or so, but I think that's awesome. And her songs in the movie are very autobiographical. They take you through the movie, of course, but
one of my favorite games is, and I wish I know I restarted the run, because you can replay it on a harder difficulty and get all sorts of bonuses. But anyway, you have a series of familiars, and this game is all stick figure. I'll plug them because they're really great, and people still play them. It's a pretty active community called the Kingdom of Loathing. And I remember getting my owl familiar and naming it Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Because I tried to come up with different familiar names, and that was the best I could do for that one.
So I just did a quick scan, and it looks like you can get it digital from all of the. It's actually part of the Movies Anywhere collection. But you have the cheapest of the 4 stores, because Movies Anywhere connects Vudu, iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. Google Play has it for $10. Everyone else has it for $12.99 or $13.99. So I might be snagging it off of Google Play later. But
interesting.
All right. It's Corey. I'm glad you picked that, because now I have a movie that, one, I haven't seen, and 2, it's about music, and I love that. So, and it's Michael Pitt. I am always kind of on the fence about, but
I know.
I'll give him the movie's got a great Metascore, 85. So definitely in.
Yeah, it was well liked. I don't remember watching it, but it was well liked, well received.
Well, that leads us to you, sir. What is?
It's back to me already?
It's your number 4.
Oh, okay. Well, this one's probably going to be one of my least popular of my picks, and we've talked about it before, but it's my only pick, if I recall correctly, where the entirety of the film revolves around them. 2001's eponymous Josie and the Pussycats.
I knew this was going to be on your list, dude.
Yep.
Do what?
I knew this would be on your list.
I mean, the immense resurgence of the Archie properties, thanks to the Riverdale series, has now introduced the band in a wholly different incarnation to younger audiences, which I'm okay with. But for me, Rachel Lee Cook hit the right notes. At Josie McCoy and Rosario Dawson and Tara Reid. I mean, this was the role that Tara Reid was born to play. I mean, really, I can't. When she's standing on the side of the road, honk if you like, whatever, and then she has the one, but she trims off the last part of the band name and causes a car wreck. That is totally something I could see her doing. It just My only real disappointment is the fact that there really wasn't a hint at Archie in the film. I'm sure that had something to do with some sort of legal ramifications, or they didn't, they couldn't use the Archie, even though they are part of the Archie comics universe. And also the cat was missing. There's one of the villain has a cat, and I honestly read a lot. Everything else seemed to work properly for me. I read a lot of Archie comics growing up, and I know some kids are actually getting. We bought John some of the classic Archie comics. And anyway, so overall the ratings were just dismal. 53% rotten, 51% audience score, 5.3 IMDb score, 2.9 Letterboxd score, 47 Metascore. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to claim this guilty pleasure. It's mine. And that's not even mentioning, because really the impetus of Josie and the Pussycats, their fame is because of what happens to Du Jour. I love the jab as a boy band fad at the time. And Seth Green, Pays on Love? Who's the guy from Scrubs? His buddy, Turk's buddy.
I never watched Scrubs.
Yeah, I've only watched like 2 episodes of Scrubs, but I started watching.
Okay. But Seth, just the bickering back and forth. I want to. Oh man, the names are escaping me because I remember the mains. But Alan Cummings, this sleazy manager who eventually moves on to Josie, and then Parker Posey makes an appearance. That's probably why I forgive this film what I do. It harkened back to childhood for me, and then because this is 2001, so 16 years ago. I was much older than the demographic they were aiming for, but it hit the nostalgia note for me.
Yeah, and I've known this about you. So I was looking up, trying to find additional bands so I wouldn't miss anything. I did see this, and I was like, Mike will probably have that on his list. But unfortunately, I've not seen it. However, I said 4, not 5, so I was accounting for this potential movie. So.
You're not alone in your love for this movie, though, because Mondo Tees, they are doing a reissue of the soundtrack on Purple Leopard vinyl. Ooh. And it comes with the bonus du jour 7-inch pressed on white vinyl. It was just announced maybe a couple months ago, but I think that's awesome.
Funny.
I like Rosario Dawson. I feel like I should watch this.
But Tara Reid.
I've always liked her. No, but the role she plays is...
I know. And honestly, this was still when she was okay, because this was American Pie was only a couple years old. I don't remember what year Van Wilder came out, but it would have been close to the same year. She had not hit her over partying phase just yet. I don't think at this point.
Hadn't hit the Alone in the Dark terrible Wee Bowl deal.
And then later, Sharknado. So, Corey, and you've not seen it though.
No.
Yeah, and I honestly, I was 19 when the movie came out, and I was only vaguely aware of the animated series. I never saw it. I knew it existed, and I think they might have been on an episode of Scooby-Doo. Is that right?
I'm sure they did crossover.
I feel like they did. They did a crossover with something that I saw, and that's the only real knowledge of Josie and the Pussycats I had. So when the movie came out, honestly. It looked like it was geared towards a younger audience, and I was definitely into metal music, so I was like, "This is the worst thing ever," So did not pay any attention, and I think I laughed with joy when it didn't do well. So sorry, Mike.
That's just hurtful.
I was very elitist mindset when it came to music in 2001. So
did you Corey'd this movie?
I kind of
did.
I know.
I took that hipster attitude and ran with it. Let's get into some punk rock music for my number 3, guys. I am very aware that the punk music that I like is considered pop punk. Like, I love Blink-182. I grew up the first rock album that I owned was Green Day Dookie. Everything else I had before that was all rap oriented.
Also punk, right? Pop punk.
Yes, also pop punk. And I was very much into pop punk, and I've recently actually expressed to Mike an interest in starting to explore more real punk music. I said something I like Rancid, although I still kind of consider Rancid to be on the fringe of
More
pop punk.
I would say ska.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I also like ska music. I like
Social
Real Big
Distortion.
Fish. I like
But I
Social
think,
Distortion.
I do like Real Big Fish.
I like a few songs of Real
They're
Big Fish, to be
definitely
fair.
ska.
Oh yeah, no question. But
I will lead you down. I'll let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish.
Well, but this
I feel like this should be documented somewhere so we can follow along.
we are literally recording it. But
No, but on the bands that you're being introduced to.
In 2015, this movie came out, and I didn't get to see it till 2016. But I had to go with the Ain't Rights from Green Room as my number 3.
I knew this.
Because one, they go into a Nazi bar, and our homeboy Anton Yelchin, may he rest in peace, decides maybe we should play this Dead Kennedy song, Nazi Punks F Off, which is not what it's called. And I had never heard that song prior to Green Room because I had no knowledge of punk music. So I was like, oh my God, did they just write that on the fly? Like, I had no idea what it was. I did a lot of research after I saw the movie because I was like, what is this? But I enjoyed all the music that the Ain't Rights played, and I've actually been listening to them on the soundtrack recently. And any chance I get to talk about, one, Anton Yelchin, and two, Jeremy Saulnier, I'm going to. And this movie is one of my favorites from last year. It's a film that anytime anyone gets a chance to hear me talk about it, I'm going to. And more so, I have yet to find another suspenseful movie as on the edge of my seat as I was watching Green Room, because I cared so much for this band. You have Anton Yelchin, you have Aliyah Shawkat, I'm just going to name the band members, Joe Cole and Callum Turner are the band members. I love their strategy, and they exist in the modern world, but because they're punk rock, they refuse to advertise on social media, which is an important detail for the plot, as it makes nobody knows where they are, so no one knows to come looking for them. And even the struggle that they're in, they're basically playing this horrible bar so they get enough money to get home, and so this is their tour, and it's living this road experience. The band is talented. Easily my favorite shot of a mosh pit ever, when it goes into slow motion and the music changes to classical music, but you see this hardcore mosh pit, and it's brilliant. I love it. The Ain't Rights is my pick for number 3.
It was very difficult not to include this on either my honorable mentions or my top 5. I'll just give that away that I didn't, and that totally fits with my mind. I feel guilty that I missed out on it and didn't get to it till so late, because it is edge of your seat, cold sweat. You really feel, this is A24, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this was a sign of things to come, because they were already picking this that far back already, and just everything. The tension is palpable, and to see Patrick Stewart in the role that he played, everything, and then just when you make people feel something for your characters, and then when something happens to them, that's a sign of something's working properly, and it did. And by the time you get, to say it's a roller coaster ride is so trite. It is so cliche, but it totally fits. It's just my palms are sweating just thinking about the different scenes.
Oh man,
because it totally fits. And yeah, when that you mentioning that song, and I'm not huge on Dead Kennedys, but I do listen. They do a cover of Viva Las Vegas that is crazy. And I think Jello Biafra, because I hold you hostage whenever if I drive somewhere, and usually it's Rollins or some other stuff. And for my one Amazon Music channel, I'll just plug them because I've really been enjoying what they have. Some Henry Rollins spoken, but also Jello Biafra, and I'm probably butchering his last name, but that's the singer of the Dead Kennedys, and he does spoken word, and some of the stuff that he comes up with and talks about, and it's like, wow, he's really right on, and it's something else. And what I was going to is we can lead you down the dark path, because we could get you to, you've already heard some Black Flag, but we can get you, Descendants is more poppy. I think Descendants without Descendants, which I totally, a few weeks back, one of our former students and their mom, they're big on punk shows. They've seen NoFX and Pennywise. They saw Descendants at House of Blues. Oh. It was, and I showed my wife. She's like, why didn't, because she knows, because she's not a punk fan, but she knows where my leanings lie, and just, I cannot believe that I missed that show. I'm not going to get a chance to see that particular band that was so big to me in my middle school years. I was digging up some movies. Obviously, Sid and Nancy falls under this. The Suburbia, not the Richard Linklater, but the one with Flea, and that would fall into this. There's one that I've forgotten, and I don't think we've ever mentioned, who of all people that was really, really surprising. Shane West plays Darby Crash in What We Do as Secret from 2007. And that, based on it wouldn't fit for this because the Germs were an actual band. You might probably recognize Pat Smear, who came into play with Nirvana on Unplugged. Yeah,
and Jane's Addiction.
Yes, as well. Yes,
and Foo Fighters, which is where
yes, Foo Fighters.
Yeah. So I think I don't think he was with Jane's. Now that I said that, but
I think it's Foo Fighters. Yeah.
Definitely with Foo Fighters for sure.
But this is like the. I'll be honest. When someone mentioned the Green Day show before they broke, I said nah, and wish now that I couldn't, because their early days were definitely they've shifted more.
Yeah,
but they're still just the longevity of their career is just. I mean, without them, we probably wouldn't have had Blink-182. But although they're really talented too, so
Blink's
in their own respect.
I love Blink.
I do too. I am not ashamed that I do like them. But there's like, for example, and then following the other bunny trails, there's a group out of, I think, over Korea's area called Poison Idea. And does that ring a bell? Okay, that's what we're calling deep cuts.
Yeah.
We were fortunate to get a deal
Portland.
on. Yeah. They're way out there.
Yeah.
They're no longer around because the lead singer, he called himself Pig Champion. He was, I want to say, near 450 pounds. He didn't take care of himself.
Oh, man.
And they lived a rough life. Or Gigi Allen. There's lots.
It's too many.
It's an acquired taste, and it's not for everyone. I know that. It just fits, though. It got me through a very pivotal time in my. At the time, I think I was listening to some Beastie Boys and Pink Floyd, and somewhere along the line, the skateboarding scene got me into the other groups, which is ironic because Beastie Boys sprang out of punk, and they really embraced rap, and they kind of go hand in hand.
They do, especially Attitude, I think. But
yeah, definitely. Well, the DIY aesthetic and kind of the way things they were doing originally. Now things are so overproduced; it's so different. There couldn't be one without the other. I don't think, because they really did support each other. As far as, and a lot of people don't think about that and don't realize that.
True, Corey. I don't know if this is going to end up on your list or not, but do you have anything to add before we move into your number 3?
It's not on my list, but I also love that movie, and I think we get our last Anton Yelchin performance this year through Thoroughbreds.
I am such a fan of him, and it is so. I've lost
sad every time.
Yeah, every time I am aware that he's gone, and like that, because you really see that he was just hitting his stride. Like, he's good in everything I've seen, and I've seen some of his younger stuff. But the last couple of movies, he's just so good. Especially Star Trek Beyond. I think he kind of steals the show at times. Chekhov's character is so powerful in that one.
Oh, love Chekhov. And I like the different projects that he chose.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know.
All right. Well, let's go to Corey's number 3 then.
Okay. I think this is going to be on John's list, but it's The O-Neaters from 1996. A thing you do. And I had to call them.
That's the O-Netters.
Actually, I have Captain Beach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters on my list.
Yes!
They're on my honorable mention.
They're on my honorable mention, actually.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I love this movie. I love the music. I don't even know. And they, didn't end up kind of being a one-hit wonder, but I just love this. I love this movie so much, and the music is so fun.
I've always assumed that Hanks wrote the movie to basically give a fake history to the phrase "one hit wonder" by having them be maybe the first one hit wonder. There is a line in the movies like the one hit wonders, but you can't tell if he's saying it as though it's a pun on an expression that already existed, or if he's coining the phrase, or if he's even just accidentally coining the phrase. But I definitely I love this movie for sure, and it's one that I've seen. I can't even count. The reality though, as much as I love That Thing You Do, the song, and I also love the only other song of theirs we really get to embrace. Like there is a ballad that we hear at Filipiano's. I know this movie way too well. I just realized I know the name of the pizza place they play at the beginning of the movie, but I don't like the ballad. But the song that oh man, why am I forgetting his name? Lenny is the character name.
Come on,
Steve Zahn.
Steve Zahn.
Yeah, that song. I really like that song too.
Yeah, I preferred All My Only Dreams myself. I like the ballad.
Really, the B-side. See, I'm not a big ballad fan though, so that's probably why. But, and of course, this movie has one of your boyfriends, Corey. Giovanni Ribisi is the drummer who breaks his arm and it gives Guy his opportunity.
Has Ethan Embry.
Ethan Embry's her boyfriend.
And Ethan Embry's in it. Oh my God, what am I talking about? And I love, but one of the things I love about this movie is his character name is TB player. As being a bass player my whole life, the fact that nobody cared enough to learn the bass player's name felt very, very satisfying.
Actually, it's kind of depressing, but I mean, when Wolfman comes in,
oh man, he's scary. Don't stay on him too long. But yeah.
We've been together for a long time. Can he handle our tune?
And that bass freaking riff he does is so good.
Gosh!
And then everybody else is fine with it, but Guy's still kind of upset. It's definitely a great pick, and one that I partly left off because it did feel a little predictable, but also in my current rotation, it's on there. Like both of those songs are in my rotation. The two songs that I mentioned, not the Only Dream song. But
I mean, the whole soundtrack when they meet Freddie Fredrickson and Diane Lane, but not Diane Dane, not Lane.
Yep.
And the Chantrellines and Del Paxton.
Man,
are my biggest fan, and because I have a certain mix that I'll play for my students and as they work and whatnot, and that way some of this they'll never hear. Some of it they may it blew my mind that they recognized the instrumental of "Don't Stop Believing," or
that's Glee though. Glee brought that song back into the zeitgeist.
That could be. That's true, but I feel like they would have been too young for it.
No,
one and there was another.
Glee brought it back, but it's been covered and used in movies so many times since that.
I guess I shouldn't have been shocked.
Yeah.
There's a couple that they surprised me. It gives me hope for the future, and I look at them because they pick up on it and they know what it is. And they're like, who are you? And it's a good thing. I like it. I'm like, you are all right. But to say that I love this movie, I mean, I literally had a snapshot the other day that we were going through. It's literally almost a weekly thing. Oh, it's on. I'll just leave it on again. Not even owning it. I need to. I don't know why I've never bought it.
I didn't have it for a long time because it was always on HBO, and I didn't need to own it. I actually bought it when I went to Boston last year. I found it at a used bookstore for $2 on DVD, and I was like, well, I'm going to buy this now because it's one that I've always loved, and for some reason, like you had not owned the whole time.
Just all the little nods to the Steubenville, the Pitts.
Pittsburgh. Kevin Pollak.
How you sleeping?
Yeah. And that band. I've had my first show, playing with my old band Contrast. My bass string broke on the second song, and I was already stressed out, and it was like a nightmare. And so they really capture that in this movie too. Like when everything goes wrong and the cymbal falls, and it's one thing after another. It's Keanu Reeves coined the idea of quicksand in the movie The Replacements, and I use that all the time as a way of explaining like when one thing goes wrong and then another and then another, and it feels like there's nothing you can do to get out of it. That's that moment in the movie, and just great.
I don't remember where I heard it, but I know that there was a couple of nods to the Beatles. I think Linda McCartney had been left behind the way Liv Tyler's character had been when they get that news that they're going out to California. There's a couple of little bits that there are nods to other bands' kind of experiences. It's just Tom Hanks. Oh man, what a flick! Love it.
All right, Corey, do you have anything else to add before we move? I know this was your pick, but I feel like we might have hijacked it. So no, Corey.
Man, she's
sorry. I like cough or I yawn and I like put my mic on mute, and then no, I said I'm just so glad you guys love it too. If there's anyone listening that hasn't ever watched it before, go ahead. You're gonna get earworms from the music. It's just fun.
It is gonna be in your head. All right, Mike. That leads us to your number 3.
It was difficult for me to figure out which band to go with from this property, but ultimately, the all-Biff outfit, Figrin Dan and the Modal nodes from Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, edged out Cy Snoodles and the Max Rebo Band by a huge margin. It's difficult to not make an Outer Space Bar scene cheesy, and yet somehow, amazingly, Lucas managed to do so. By rights, the whole part in the Mos Eisley Cantina should have been terrible. Although, I guess the terrible part came with Cy Snoodles and company, because that's what it was in Special Edition. They had that extended band scene that just was totally out of place.
With
and I'm
the
so
weird
glad.
dancer.
Yeah, just everything. Everything, the close-up on Cy, everything. I think it worked better when they were part of the background. You get that little bit of mystique, and you wonder what it's like. Maybe Figrin Dan and his Bith crew end up in some sort of Outer Rim territory version of the Green Room, and they have to escape with their lives because they are dealing with unsavory type characters as well. So seeing a full-on alien band, I would have been 4 when I originally saw this, and then not only that, but a pub full of odd creatures and whatnot was just something to behold, and it stuck, not just with me, but with many other people. Episode 4 obviously is going to have these huge ratings: 94% fresh rating, 96% audience rating, 8.7 IMDb, 4.3 Letterboxd, 92 Metascore. Clearly, it's the better band, and it has prevailed. Did Maz? Did she have a band in her place? I don't know, because
there probably was, but I don't think they drew as much attention to it.
Which is probably good, but now we don't have a mysterious
band.
I don't know. Yeah.
And I don't remember any bands in the prequels.
No, they were
too busy discussing politics. So,
and sand and how rough it is and such.
In my diaper, said Anakin. But I really do. It's hard to not enjoy the Star Wars bands. They're not on my list, nor are they on honorable mentions, but it's definitely a fun pick.
Agreed.
All right. I guess that leads to my number 2. So I'm going to build up to my number 2 a little bit. Director and writer John Carney has captured the art of making movies about musicians. He's done 3. Once, Begin Again, and Sing Street. And while I feel like Begin Again is the American film, and it feels more American in a bad way. It feels too polished at times, and I think that's something with music that you don't always want it to be over polished or over produced, and but it's still a great movie, and it does have, I think, the best scene ever to capture the musician's mind, which is when Mark Ruffalo is listening to Keira Knightley perform. We're seeing it from his perspective, and you see the other instruments that are unmanned begin to play as he orchestrates the rest of the song, because she's playing acoustic and singing, but he starts hearing what it would be with drums and piano and violin, and you see these ghost instruments begin to play, and we hear the music start to pick up and build as he's adding instruments, and it's just a brilliant visualization of the process of a musician's mind. And while I like that movie, it really came down to picking Sing Street or Once, and I could have easily have included both, but I opted to pick one over the other. And the band that I picked is Guy's studio band from Once. Once, the actor is not an actor; he's a musician. Glenn Hansard plays Guy. It's not his name. That's just the character is a guy. They never give him a name in the film. He meets Marketa Erglova, and I hope I said that right. And if not, I apologize. Marketa Erglova, it might be. She plays Girl. They meet. He's a busker. He just plays on the side of the street for money. But through the course of the film, he's encouraged to record a demo and then go off to London to try to win back the girl he lost. And he recruits her along with 3 street musicians to go in and do an album. And every song my favorite scene in the movie is the very first song they record in the studio, because they have this engineer. They're paying a lot of money for the studio. I think $3,000 for the night.
Oh.
And the sound guy, the engineer, the producer, if you will, of the studio looks so disinterested, and like right away he's like, we're gonna need to test the drums, and the drummer's like, they're good, I tested them, they're fine. He's like, yeah, no, I mean, we have to make sure they're loud enough. He's like, no, they sound real loud. He's like, no, man, we have to put mics on them and then check the levels. And he goes like, oh, and he kind of realizes he's dealing with these amateur musicians, and he's discouraged. But by the end of the first song, actually, not even by the end, about a quarter of the way through, you see him kind of, his ears pick up and his eyes get wide, and he realizes that this is legit. Like, these are talented musicians, and he starts really getting into like the mix, and you see him moving the knobs. And when the song's over, he just goes, "Did you write that?" And Glenn Hansard's like, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "All right then, let's do this." And it's just from there, it's just this awesome montage of them recording. I have listened to this soundtrack countless times. Now, unlike my other picks, if you are an Oscar follower, this movie won Best Original Soundtrack in 2008 Oscars, and became a musical afterwards. And the musical has won several Tonys. It's still, I think, being done on Broadway at times, also called Once. But the film itself is a guerrilla piece of filmmaking. John Carney filmed most of it without permission from the Irish government or the Irish Film Board. So he's filming it what we call guerrilla film style, where he'll just have a camera like placed across the street, and a lot of the people you see walking on the road are real people. And in fact, there's a scene early in the movie where Hansard's playing like on the side of the road with his guitar, and a guy runs up and steals his guitar case with all the money in it, and then he chases him. The first time they were filming that, according to IMDb trivia, a guy looking to help Glenn Hansard intervenes and like knees the dude in the nuts. But that guy was an actor, but the guy that kneed him in the nuts was not. So he just thought he was being a good citizen. So
don't you steal? Don't
steal, or this guy's going to get you. But I came across this movie. I bought it probably 2010 in like the $4 bin at Walmart because of the musical element to it. Like, the cover is him and the girl, and he's holding a guitar, and I was like, oh, it's about music, I'll probably like this. And I bought it, and it sat on my shelf unopened until last year when I saw Sing Street. And I watched Sing Street last year, and I loved Sing Street so much, and I was looking up the director. I'm like, oh, he made a movie called Once. I think I have that. And sure enough, there it was, unopened. I immediately opened it, watched it, and loved it, especially the music. Glenn Hansard is a musician. He's only acted in this, and originally, and I think I've talked about this movie before, it was supposed to be Cillian Murphy, or Cillian Murphy, was supposed to play the role of Guy, but was afraid he couldn't keep up with Glenn's songs, that he just couldn't do them justice. So he backed off the project. The project lost a lot of money because of that. All the producers backed off. Because they didn't have a big name actor. John Carney was unwavered and wanted to make this movie, so they made it for 120 euros, I believe, 120,000 euros. Sorry, not 120 euros, but
you say that's really low budget,
super low budget. And but that was all they had to work with. Neither Glenn or Marquetta have acted in anything else, but they're both professional musicians. So
they played together in a band called the Swell Season.
Oh, very cool. I did
before
not know
this.
Doesn't count though, because that's not the band in here, and it's also
no. But I just think it's interesting that they work together in a movie. Then
yeah, I didn't realize that that was the case, but because she's super young compared to him too. Like I think she was only 17 or something in this movie when she did it, and he is much older. But you wouldn't know she's only 17 or whatever. Maybe she was just a little older than that. She's 29 now. And she was born in 88, so she would have been 20. I guess she was 20 or 19 when they did the movie, so because it's 2007. But I can't praise this movie enough, especially because I think it's a great example of how to tell a great story even when you don't have the best equipment or any professional lighting. And again, John Carney's understanding of music is so strong in all three of his films that I mentioned, Begin Again, Sing Street, and this one. But as much as I love the Sing Street soundtrack, I love the one soundtrack more. So I went with Guy's studio band from Once.
I really want to watch this movie. I need to.
You definitely do.
I've watched it at least once. This is more my wife's pace, but I've at least watched it. And it's not that I didn't like it. I just think she had already been into it at that point. It's coming into the middle of the movie is tough for me.
Yeah, I got to say, I listen to the regular soundtrack all the time, but I came across the Broadway musical soundtrack on Amazon Prime Music, and I made it through 2 songs. It's way too polished for my taste. I love Hansard's kind of gritty Irish sounding like folky voice, and the guy from the Broadway recording is just too crisp and clean, and I didn't like it as much. Still a good song, but it didn't have the raw emotion that I feel like Glenn's singing has. So, but that's my number 2. We are running a little long, so let's move into Corey's.
Okay, I've talked about this movie before. My affection for it does not come close to John's, but I love the band in this. I love the soundtrack. As soon as it was released on vinyl, I had to buy it. Sex Bob-ombs from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, 2010.
Cool. I didn't know you had it on vinyl. That's awesome.
Yeah, they released it for, I think, for Record Store Day or something one year. It's on like red vinyl, but I just love it. I love that it's loud, and I always seem to want to listen to it late at night, which makes no sense, but...
You're picking that band though, Sex Bomb?
Yeah.
Out of okay.
Yes.
I love Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and I've talked about that movie so many times. I opted to not include one on my list. Although I have to say, after weighing my options, I think I was gonna go with Crash and the Boys for my favorite band from the movie.
That girl a boy too?
Yes. Yeah, I really like them. In fact, my text tone right now is their song "So Sad," where it's just so sad, and
slow down, guys. It's not a race.
Yeah. And this next song goes out to the guy in the audience just now. Shut up. Yeah, I like that a lot, but I do love the Sex Bob-ombs. I have found though that I only like the parts of the songs that were in the movie. To me, when I listen to like the soundtrack, they go on like they don't stay as good as the song goes on, in my opinion.
I think that's an Edgar Wright thing where he meshes it into the film and becomes, Baby Driver being the example for that, because there's a whole thing, I forget where I watched it, about how he worked the songs into films, and some of them were going to run short, so what they did as a conceit but maybe that's what it is.
It could be. And again, like Garbage Truck, I really like the first verse, but like the second verse doesn't hold up for me. And then even the opening song, like the first verse is really strong, and then like the second verse is like a lot weaker. So not to insult them, I still love those parts of the songs, but I don't think they're as good going in length. Where the Crash and the Boys songs are exactly what you hear in the movie. So there you go. All right. Silence Corey.
But no, mine. I just mine. I put Sex Bomb and honorable mentions.
Yeah,
I figured that would be predictable if I put it for me anyway.
Me too. That's why another reason I left them off, because I expected everyone to think I would have Scott Pilgrim, and I do love the band in the movie, so no question. But...
Yeah, I do as well. I wanted to, but I only have 5 picks, and
yep.
So some things got to get cut.
Yeah, and my number one was, as soon as I started making my list, my number one was already assigned. So
me too.
Same.
Oh wow. Oh, I'm really
probably
curious.
Not. I'm betting that we don't all have the same one.
I'm betting
not
that
be the same.
You have not seen the movie, Mike. So we'll see. But I have a strong feeling you have not, because I only know a few people who have. And I'm trying to become the advocate for this film. So let's get to your number 2, though, Mike, so we can get to my number 1. What's your number 2?
All right. Without this band, an unseen band, if I recall correctly, maybe it's been a while, so I'm pretty sure you will be able to correct me. I'm not sure if the film would have gone on, because there's something with, I think, the lyrics of the main song, the only song, that drives the main one of the lead characters on with what they're doing. Big Fun from 1988's Heathers provides J.D., played by Christian Slater, the fuel to go on the murderous spree that he does. I think he calls from the lyrics and kind of borrows from it and just goes with it. The song, I mean, honestly, I don't know that he really need fuel to go on said spree, but the song Teenage Suicide, in parentheses, Don't Do It, I think kind of gave him some context, gave him some inspiration, I'm guessing, to plant and make it so that all these popular kids are murdering, to make them look like suicide. I didn't realize until today, and I've watched this was 1988, so nearly 30 years have gone by, that 2 of the producers that had worked on at least a couple of REM albums, who I love REM, had been integral to getting the song done. They were writers on it. Don Dixon, Mitch Easter, and they had their own separate band. Just kind of in the same way that the guy from Fountains of Wayne did the majority of That Thing You Do. That's really who put together a lot of that. I forget the guy's name. These 2 with their band Let's Active, kind of gone with it and did that. A cursory search of YouTube showed that there's some sort of Heathers the musical thing. I was really hesitant to click on it, and I didn't end up clicking because, well, I may do so out of morbid curiosity. It's just, how do you, I don't know, I just saw a CBS This Morning news piece on SpongeBob, the musical on Broadway, and just, so that made me very worried about clicking on Heathers, the musical. So Heathers itself gets 95% fresh, 84% audience rating, 7.3 IMDb, 3.7 Letterboxd, and a 73 Metascore. All around pretty good ratings.
Yeah. And a good movie. I don't remember the band much, actually, though. As much as I remember the rest of that movie. Like, it's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I think the song, and I think the one character, remember, that she walks out into traffic was wearing the Big Fun. It's kind of like a big thing in the film, but you may not have seen them themselves.
Got it.
As well as the song.
Well, there you go. My bad for missing that. I'm going to have to I'll probably end up rewatching it anyways, but...
Yeah, I'd like to myself.
All right. My number 1 is...
I'm really excited to hear this.
Directed by William H. Macy. Stars Billy Crudup, Anton Yelchin. I want to get the other 2 band members. I think it's Miles Heiser, and I don't know for sure who the other guy is. Oh man. It is the band and the same name of the movie, Rudderless, from 2014.
Oh. I was just about to put them on my honorable mention. I have seen parts of this, but not all. Ha!
Oh, there you go.
I beat you.
You did.
I beat you.
Although if I've seen your number 1, I've seen 3 of your 4 so far, so I just need number 1 on my list.
Can I edge you out?
But we watched this for Movie Club, so you can actually go back and get our initial reactions from this film. But since we watched it, I've seen it, I think, in parts 2 more times. But I've listened to the soundtrack, I can't tell you how many times. It has, for the last 2 months, been the only album I consistently was listening to, or it was on. I have a movie playlist on my Google Play Music account that is MovieBands, and it is Rudderless, every song from them. It's the Once soundtrack. It is Sing Street soundtrack, and then a few songs from various bands, including the Ain't Rights and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Most of the soundtrack, not all of it, and but Rudderless is the one I keep going back to. There are Anton and Billy Crudup share vocals, and they're amazing. I love the way they sound. I literally think it's one of my favorite albums. Period. Like not even just from the movie. And so while I think the movie's really good, and it's got a 51, I think I just saw on Metacritic. 52.
That's shameful. It should be better. I think
it should, and it has a 7.5 IMDb score though. So the fans really got into this movie. I can see why critics might hate on this. Some of the plot contrivances are there, and the story does take a pretty dark turn at points, but the music and the power of music, which is something that is a theme that I love. When movies push the power of music as their kind of go-to, it just works for me. And this movie does that so much for me, because you have a father who is grieving the loss of his son, finds that his son had a bunch of songs written and recorded, and learns how to play them, and goes to a bar where he's an alcoholic now because his son died, but he sees it's open mic night. He decides he's going to come and play one of the songs. Anton Yelchin's character hears the song, is moved by it, pushes him to start the band, and he does so kind of against his own will, but I think he sees the opportunity to have like another chance with Anton as a surrogate son, and all of that just works for me. And you see Billy Crudup's character go through a dramatic grieving process through music, and I just find it so powerful. I really like the songs. Some of the songs, like, they're not the most brilliantly written songs necessarily, but a couple of them are. And they also cover Wheels on the Bus in probably the coolest fashion that song's ever been played. I loved it, scene. And it's again, I enjoyed the movie for sure. I still like the movie a lot, but I love the soundtrack. So Rudderless is my favorite movie band currently of all time. So
yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of it. I need to watch it completely. I didn't realize William H. Macy directed.
He did, and he does play the bartender too at the bar.
Okay, see, so that tells you the pageant, because I caught part of it. I caught Selena Gomez. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, very small part for Gomez, but yeah,
but good. She did well in it. And yeah, my wife and I think I showed her the trailer, because we gone up and down the voodoo list and showed her the trailer, and she seemed to be interested. So I'm hoping we'll watch that one together. But I have seen a good amount of it already. Definitely one. I keep pushing everyone I know, especially if they're music oriented, to give this movie a watch. It does deal with it broaches a very difficult subject too. I didn't mention the son dies though at the beginning of the movie in a school shooting, and I won't give any other information because I want people to see it. But that is a difficult subject for people to deal with anyways, and I think that might be why it didn't get as much. And it also, I think it adds a little bit of melodrama to the film, and that might be why critics didn't fall into it as much. But I am an amateur critic who loves it, so there you go.
I really like this movie, and I need to listen to the soundtrack more, but I did enjoy it a lot. Enjoyed the music a lot when watching the movie, and that scene with Wheels on the Bus was great.
Yes.
Great.
All right, let's go to Corey's number one.
Okay. I was going to sing for you guys.
Ooh.
Maybe I still will. I have a horrible singing voice. I'm not going to. Never mind.
Oh, man. Okay,
never mind. El Madrid, it's nice to see ya. It's really nice to be here. I love you all. I couldn't. As soon as we talked about this, I already had this band picked out. This is probably my favorite soundtrack of all time. I had to pick them, and I always try to pronounce their name, but their name is unpronounceable. But it's the Soren blah 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 from Frank, and I think it came out in 2014. I love this movie so much that I went to a theater that I do not like because of their clientele twice to see it. I love I think that Michael Fassbender should sing more, but I just love this band in this movie. I love that they go to Austin and they're trying to, why am I forgetting the name of that festival that I want to go to so bad every year? But it's
South by Southwest.
Yes, but it's so expensive and it's like out of hand and people get ran over there now. So I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I just love it so much. So that's my number one.
I don't know why I earlier when I was making my list, I totally knew that this was going to be your number one, and then I totally blanked while we were doing the podcast. So I was I was like, what is she singing? I know this song, but I can't place it.
No.
And then you're like,
With
Frank.
her
I'm like,
horrible voice.
oh, Frank. Of course it's Frank. I knew that. Before this started, but for some reason, just completely blanked.
I knew what your number one was going to be also, but I don't know. I'm still trying to get a hold of it on vinyl. So there we go.
So if you're a vinyl seller out there, hit us up. Contact @BurkeReviews.com. Corey is willing to pay anything. No,
that's not true at all because I have what I want for $105 on eBay right now, and I just can't do it.
Jeez.
Yeah, that is cheapo, man.
Nope.
Well,
I can't add to this because I haven't seen it.
You definitely should check it out.
It's still on Netflix.
I think it is, but it's also interesting to note that it is the same director who did Room. Not The Room, but Room.
Whoa.
And it's a very, very tonally different movie. But, I'm gonna get his name too.
Yeah,
Lenny Abrahamson. I'm pretty sure that's how you say
Abramson?
it. It's maybe it's Abramson, but it's Abrahamson. I'm gonna overemphasize it. He directed Room and he directed Frank. I should also know Michael Fassbender, Domhnall Gleeson, Maggie Gyllenhaal, all in this movie. So yeah, Mike, you should definitely check it out. Scoot McNairy's in it too.
Try it.
Yeah,
I'll have to try it.
I've only seen it once. I do want to rewatch it, but I did enjoy the movie when I watched it my first time around. It is weird. It's definitely know that going in. It's not gonna.
I can do weird.
Oh yeah, well we know you can do weird, Mike. Most of the movies that you list we've never heard of, so
that doesn't always make them weird.
True
it
that.
makes
No.
them...
True. Word.
But you do like David Lynch.
A lot of people. Well, not a lot of people, but enough that
No. He's still weird. You can't I'm not saying that Mike's weird for liking him. I'm saying David Lynch is weird. And Mike likes David Lynch. Thus, not surprised that you like weird. That's all. Not being insulting. Not in any way do I mean it as an insult. Just
We're all weird sometime.
Correct. All right, Mike.
I prefer being called strange.
Frank, by the way, listeners, that is Michael Fassbender, who stars in the movie, does wear a papier-mâché head through most of it. So it's kind of a weird, unusual. Casey Affleck, I guess, is the only other thing I can think of where your big superstar's face is covered up. That's not a superhero movie. So there you go. Another reason to watch Frank is just for this oddity of a papier-mâché head musician.
Even
Mike,
when he showers.
I'm very curious, sir. What is your number one?
All right. Before I even say it, because I'll just preface it by saying I'm going to one of my standbys. What do you think?
Oh, what do we think it is?
I need a moment to think about this. I can't think when you're doing Jeopardy music. I can't think on the spot.
I'm not sure.
No, it's one of my standbys.
Is it Spinal Tap?
Okay. That's not one of my standbys. It's not a bad guess. They didn't even make my honorable mentions. Corey, any thoughts?
No.
It's not. No? Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't think on the spot.
All right, well, I'm going back to 1984, and it's a Buckaroo Banzai and the Hong Kong.
Oh my God, I knew this. I'm
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. That was the first group that went into my mind. There are some issues and questions I have about them, and the band only makes an appearance in a small snippet of it that introduces Penny Pretty to us. Mm-hmm. But it's a needed scene, because without that you don't get her. But my questions, my issues, because I do love them, and I wonder if he was the inspiration for me to play trumpet, even though it was more like a pocket cornet. And I've had my eye on one at one of the local music stores, but and the price is okay, but I just hadn't, because we already have two trumpets in the house, so why would I need one that I could fit in my pocket? Yep. I can't justify it. I mean, I can, but I don't know if everyone would be on the same page with me. So, in the scene, because they're in the midst of a concert, and he's busting out with his guitar, he busts out with his cornet, and then all of a sudden, Penny Pretty, the gun goes off. She's actually looking to commit suicide. It's kind of dark, but someone bumps into her and she misses completely. And then all of a sudden they are totally packed to the hilt with weapons, and they'd just been playing.
Yeah.
So my question is, where do they pack all those weapons? What are they doing on stage and manage to perform with them? And it seems like they're really heavily and that would be very limiting mobility-wise. And they are playing and doing. Maybe it is a movie, but I wonder these things. And additionally, with everything because they are saving the world, and he has fought against the World Crime League and had these all sorts of adventures and driven through a mountain. How do they rehearse? Because
I don't think they need to.
Oh, they're that good. Okay, well, I mean, I know one of the band members is Perfect Tommy, so that does make sense. It's just like, wow, I was thinking these things, but I'm like, even regardless of that, they're still my number one. The ratings won't reflect it. But again, it doesn't matter to me as far as the ratings, because it's stuck with me. It's from 90. Let's see, I would have been 11 on initial release, so probably in my teens when I saw it, and it's stuck with me since for all these years. 72% fresh, 70% audience score, 6.4 IMDb score, 3.3 Letterboxd score. There we are.
This was just like Corey's number one. I knew it when I was making my list. I saw this band, and I was like, well, Mike's definitely going to have that band as his number one. And yet, when it was time for me to say it, I blanked on it. I'm very frustrated.
When I was doing some research, I saw it too. Dang it. I've never seen this movie, but...
I have. I remedied that.
Oh, you made it. Okay,
oh, yeah, a couple of months ago. Yeah, I did finally... I made quite the effort to watch it because of you. And, yes...
Big Booty!
Yeah, oh, man, there's so many funny jokes in that movie. Big Booty is freaking best. Yeah, and that scene, I actually love the way they shot that scene with Penny Pretty, like how the lights are, it's so dark in the room. I love the look of that scene, like aesthetically it's so compelling, and how he like sings to her and everything. Like it's, yeah, totally cool. Definitely a likely pick for you, sir, no question. That's our top 5 movie bands for this week's list. Before we go, we're going to go into our honorable mentions, which I have a few. I'm going to start with the most excellent Wild Stallions from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yep, on my list.
Sing Street from Sing Street, which, again, easily could have been in my top 5. I do love that soundtrack, but I opted to only have one John Carney band on my list. I already mentioned Crash and the Boys. I mentioned The Wonders. Steel Dragon from Rockstar. It's a Mark Wahlberg-led band. Unfortunately, their soundtrack is not on any digital streaming service except for YouTube, and it bums me out because there's a couple of songs I really like from it, and more importantly, I love the song at the end of the movie where he goes to like a grunge coffee shop because the 80s is ending and he's like done with this 80s like heavy metal band. But Jennifer Aniston, Mark Wahlberg in that movie, really great. I have the School of Rock band because I do love School of Rock. I have kind of framed my life around Jack Black. And I don't want to mention every great band, like movie band, but I do want to mention. I'm surprised none of us had Almost Famous's Stillwater on our list because
I haven't seen it.
Oh wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it still.
I want to reference it because I had 2 Anton Yelchin bands in my top 5. I had the Ain't Rights and Rudderless. I could have had 2 Billy Crudup bands had I thrown Stillwater because he's the guitar player for that band. He's the Golden God. So, and Jason Lee's the singer of that band. Mike, I don't know if you knew that in the movie. Yeah, Jason Lee.
I knew he was in it. I didn't realize he was a singer.
Yeah. So definitely a movie you got to add like immediately, dude. That's a great watch.
I know it's long overdue. I should have watched this a few times.
Yep, but I need to rewatch it. It's been a while since I last saw it, but I do love that movie, and that's mine. I hit probably too many of the bands. This was a list that I did a lot of research and also have seen so many because it's a subject that I love, and music was a huge part of my life, so movies are a huge part of my life. So movies about musicians or feature. Oh my God, I left one off. I can't believe. I'm sorry. Crucial Taunt from Wayne's World. Cassandra's band. I'm looking. It's on my honorable mentions, but it's Crash and the Boys is right next to it. So when I was skimming my list, I skipped over it because I saw CR, and I was like, oh my god, how did I not mention Crucial Taunt? Because Wayne's World is I love, and that band does kick butt in those movies. So, all right, Corey,
Literally.
what's your honorable mentions?
I have Sing Street. Thanks, John.
Yes.
Hey, that's my bike from Reality Bites. I love the cover they do of the Violet Femmes. And I have Love Burger from Can't Hardly Wait, even though they like to break up every 5 minutes.
That's such a good pull.
Love Burger. You can't wear your own T-shirt to your show.
See,
we're going to take that a step further and don't wear T-shirts at the shows you bought them at, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
I had
Like a
considered the band from Empire Strikes Back, not Empire Strikes Back, Empire Records.
Empire Records?
But I think
at the end?
Yeah, but I think I think that's his band.
I didn't know that.
Because the guy that plays Virgo is the singer on the soundtrack for that song.
Okay.
So I didn't count it, and because I love that. I actually hate the song on the soundtrack and love it in the movie because Renee Zellweger sings. What happened?
I hate when they do that, like Hard Candy Christmas from Best Whorehouse in Texas. You don't get all the girls on the soundtrack.
No, you just have.
You only get Belle.
I've had to listen to that song like 10 times this last month
so
already. It's so catchy though. Like it'll be in my head for days now. But I really love the song in Empire Records, but I don't like it on the soundtrack as much. He's much dirtier on the soundtrack than it is in the movie. Like it's real dirty because I figured you've listened to the soundtrack though because that seems like one you would own.
I do own it, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I've recently listened to the song. I was very surprised at some of the word changes from the movie to the soundtrack. But Mike, what's your honorable mention, sir?
I think we talked about all mine. Sex Bomb from Scott Pilgrim, which is The World of Wonders from That Thing You Do, Wild Stallions, School of Rock, Soggy Bottom Boys. I was going to add Rudderless, and we already talked about them, so there we are.
Oh, man, that's rare. And I did see all of your I saw my 4.
Whoa.
So
all of them.
I didn't see Josie and the Pussycats, but I saw your other movies and I said 4.
Okay, so you got your 4.
I got your 4. And Corey I think got 2 though cuz she saw Star Wars for sure. And then I think number 5 you saw. I can't remember what that is right now, but Mike's number 5 you had also seen. So there you go. We both succeeded this
Neither of us
time.
are losers this week.
Nope. We won. And if you watch any of the movies on our list, you win because they're all great in some capacity. We would love to hear musicians that you love. And you can email us again at contact@burkreviews.com, contact@burkreviews.com. Follow us on the social medias. I'm at Burk Reviews. Corey?
At Corey R. Star, 2 R's at the end.
Mike?
At Server Monkey. I was trying to make up a band name.
Now, next week, we'll be doing top 5 movies that get you in the Christmas spirit. So these are movies that you watch to kind of get in the holiday mood. We'd love to hear your list, too. So same email. I'm not going to say it again. Contact@burkreviews.com. And you can tell us what movies get you in the Christmas mood. Maybe if we get the email early enough, I might watch them. Because I've seen a lot of Christmas movies, but there's always 1 or 2 that have slipped through the cracks. In fact, on right now, this month at Burk Reviews Movie Club, Corey and I are watching holiday movies that we've never seen. We watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles last week because I had never seen it. And then, Mike, check this out.
Glaring omissions.
Corey has 3 major missed holiday movies. She's never seen Polar Express. She's never seen White Christmas. And she's never seen It's a Wonderful Life.
I haven't seen White Christmas, but I'm surprised about the others.
You've never seen White Christmas either?
I might have seen White Christmas, just don't remember it.
Man, apparently I am just a holiday movie like glutton because I think I've seen almost every major holiday movie.
Are you meant to get a guest person? I'm not a Christmas. I don't know.
It says to get in the spirit, so it doesn't have to be a Christmas movie. It's just movies you watch.
I don't even like to decorate for Christmas. This is not going to be easy for. Don't you, me?
I think I had my tree up before Kathy had hers up.
We had it up November 1st, so I don't know if that's accurate. But
I was like November 3rd or 4th.
My home, and I don't know how, but they got put up.
Oh no!
It wasn't me. At least not this year. Last year I might have helped. It's hit or miss.
Well, we'll be back next week with that episode. Guys, thank you. Until then,
thank you.
Good night, everybody.
All right, night.